Welcome back. Today, the Pentagon was expected to present President Trump with a range of military options against Iran, less than a week after an attack on Saudi Arabia's oil industry, an attack the White House has blamed on Iran. The president targeted Iran's economy today, though, instead with more sanctions against Iran's national bank. But he also warned that he is prepared for us to use military force if he decides it's necessary.
Well, I don't want to talk about that, but I will say I think the sanctions work and the military would work, but that's a very severe form of winning. But we win. Nobody can beat us militarily. Nobody can even come close.
With me now is NBC News' chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel. And Richard, look, you're doing a special on ISIS. And in some ways, you know, I think we wish we had an ISIS problem right now when we see what could happen with Iran. And I say this, I'm not wishing it, but explain to the public why we're not going to see, why it's hard to imagine there is such thing as a surgical Iranian strike the way we saw with Syria.
So I still think we do have an ISIS problem, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yes, the idea that there could be a quick surgical strike with Iran, that it would be one and done, it would be over, and the Iran problem would just go away, is a total fallacy. Iran is a sophisticated country. Sure, in an all-out military war, the U.S. would win, but that's not the kind of fight it would be. It would be a fight through proxies. It would be a fight probably not in Iran. Iran would try to project power and confront the United States outside of its borders. It would use allied militias in Iraq, for example, targeting U.S. forces there, the U.S. embassy there. It could use its militias in Syria, and it has a lot of power in Syria where it is aligned with the Assad regime, and it could target U.S. forces there, perhaps even indirectly, hiding its hand. It could target U.S. forces in Afghanistan, which is right on Iran's border. So it would be a low-level, very complicated campaign that Iran would conduct, hiding its hand and carried out in other countries. So it would be protracted, it would be confusing, it would be deniable, and it would probably take a very long time. So no, there would be no one and done. We've defeated Iran, and now let's move on to something else.
And look, here you're doing this special on ISIS, and Iran's supposed to be an ally in the fight against ISIS, or ally might be strong of a word, but in some ways they are. Look, I'm not going to ask you to try to fit both stories together in this. You're doing the ISIS, but it is sort of a reminder of just how complicated the whole thing is in the Middle East right now.
So Iran has been an ally with the United States in fighting extremism. Iran helped the United States after 9/11, did not want to see the Taliban stay in power. But Iran has also, tried to have it both ways to a degree. So not to conflate the two stories, but yes, Iran's position on ISIS has been fairly clear. It does not want to see ISIS come back. It does not want to see ISIS thrive, which brings us to the ISIS issue, which we're going to be talking about on Sunday night for an hour. The U.S., with the Kurdish militia force, defeated the caliphate, right? We wiped out the ISIS state that was spreading across the Iraq and Syria border. But there are still tens of thousands of ISIS members, fighters, family members, people who are ideologically still committed to the cause, who are unaccounted for. They are, according to one study from the Pentagon, there are as many as 18,000 ISIS members still at large. And there are camps, particularly in Syria, where ISIS supporters have been herded together. They are loosely guarded, and the people there are just sitting around with nothing to do, still committed to the cause, and they are a ticking time bomb.
Do they have no country to go to? Is that the thing? Is their home countries have rejected them in some cases?
So the Al-Hol camp, which is one of the camps that we spent a lot of time in northern Syria, about 70,000 people there. Some of them are local nationals. Let's say locals would be people from Iraq and Syria who came to join ISIS from the neighboring countries. They were kind of brought into the Islamic State because they were there. Then there are the foreign fighters who came from Europe or other more distant Arab world countries to join ISIS. And those countries don't want them back. The France, Germany, people who came from the Caribbean, they say, don't bring them back. But that isn't a solution to the problem. They're just leaving them in the desert, hoping that they're going to go away, and they're not going away.
Okay. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.